come on, Kerala. Come on, Kerala.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Dileep Narayanan, the founder and brand mentor of Organic BPS, on stage.
Good evening, distinguished leaders of business from India and UAE. I guess I'm the last speaker of this extremely brilliant business conclave organized by Madhyamam. I don't know whether the organizers have thought that this should be the last session, because I'm going to talk about a subject which is a kind of anticlimax to whatever we have discussed so far. In all these 2 days, we were talking about formulas for success, formulas for growth, ideas and success stories of businessmen, industrialists. In this session, I'm going to take you through, it's all fine, all growth and success all are absolutely fine, fantastic, this is need of the hour. But what kind of growth? What kind of success? Is it a very relevant question? This is the area which I'm going to talk about, because as the moderator said, I've been working on this subject. I was so passionate about this purpose, and this, as the topic reads, doing good is good business. Next. This is not the topic or the concept I have originated. 100 years ago, Mahatma Gandhi said, very importantly this. Yesterday, during the inaugural session, Mr. Vipul, the Consul General, talked about Mahatma Gandhi's vision. Politics without principle. What are the things that will destroy us? Politics without principle, pleasure without conscience, wealth without work, knowledge without character, business without morality, science without humanity, and worship without sacrifice. My dear friends, I'm going to delve upon the aspect business without morality, or rather I would say in a positive way, business with humanity. To get into the topic in detail, I would like to, next slide, I would like to tell you a story about a beautiful young girl, Utari. She is from Bitop in Indonesia.
Hush!
Ayo tidur, Utari, biar besok bisa bangun pagi.
Besok dia kan ulang tahun. Besok hari penting buatmu. Usiamu 5 tahun. Tidurnya, anakku.
See the story of Utari, the dancing mother, heartbroken mother. You all can empathize with her because she lost her child before reaching 5. There are 2 million children die every year before reaching the age of 5 not because of poverty, not because of malnutrition, but because of diarrhea and pneumonia. And a company like Unilever, they thought they are no longer in the business of selling soaps. They are in the business of transforming this to help children, to reduce child mortality by a simple act of hand washing, teaching them hygiene, hand washing technique using soaps. And it was an amazing, amazing project. Their goal is to teach 1 billion people about hand washing techniques. And I would say, not only they did, in Tesgora in Madhya Pradesh, in Bitobe, and in many other villages which they adopted, they ran a lot of campaigns, lot of initiatives in schools, in villages, and the child mortality rates have come down drastically in their initiatives. And they are rolling it out in other parts in Latin America too. And while doing all this good work, the company, the brand, has grown so significantly, more than 100% growth in these last 5 years, from the 2011 onwards. So that's what Paul Polman said. It's strong business performance as well. Next. So, but when I talk about this Unilever story, many of us sitting here, many businessmen may think that, okay, this is for big companies, big multinational corporations. They can think of such initiatives. This is not for us. But not from an altruistic angle, from a very, very practical angle, I would say if you pick randomly any 10 entrepreneurs or businessmen, they will agree to certain challenges, common challenges would be there. Next. The challenges, the common challenges faced by any businessman are, trust deficit in business leadership. Society do not consider business leaders as true leaders. The employees in any organization, they come for the paycheck. Most of them do not have the ownership. And the brand communication or the advertisements, which lacks credibility, consumers say, oh, that's an advertisement. It may not be true. So the authenticity or the credibility of the communication of a business house is losing. This is happening in this current, from 90 onwards, 2000 onwards, this is happening. And lack of differentiation. Any service provider or a product manufacturer, if they come out with a product or a service, within 1 or 2 months, the competition will catch up and come out with a better product. So there is not going to be much differentiation in terms of product or service. So how can you differentiate your business? And the social media, the user-controlled, user-generated content in the digital world is a major, major challenge for all the business houses. And there's environmental issues, sustainability issues, social issues like poverty, health, hygiene, inequality, economic disparity, all these major social issues, these are also challenges to the businessmen and the entrepreneurs. So how do we address? How do we solve? How do we come out of this? There is a very simple way to do that. It's a very natural way because all of us, whether it is a businessman or an employee or a consumer, we have goodness reside in us. The human beings have that power of goodness. So rekindle the goodness. Bring the humanity back into business. Business is not only for profits. It's for a purpose. It's for a higher cause. It's for a belief. That's what profit from purpose. Then industrial revolution was driven by hands. You know that in the last century, mass production, the technology revolution by heads, the information technology revolution, communication revolution. Now, currently, in 21st century, we are facing a human revolution that are led by hearts, not by hands, not by heads, but by hearts. Mission is the what, vision is the where, and purpose is the why of a business. Mission will tell you what are you doing, vision will tell you where are you going, but purpose is why are you in business? What is the single most reason you are in this business? If a company can answer, if a founder can answer that question, discover that question, and do that, then he is going to lead a purpose-driven business. Greatest companies and brands of 21st century will be built upon a higher purpose, based on a fundamental human truth, with a deep-seated conviction and for universal good. Commerce has to move from transaction to transformation. It's no longer a company is transacting something with a customer. He is transforming the life of the customer. Competition is not a bad word. It has to be cooperation. Everybody has to exist. The system has to exist. And from the customer-centric to community-centric, customer is integral part of the community and the society. So community is very important matter. So I have told you about the story of Unilever. Another example I would like to quote from India. I don't know whether you know Dr. Govindappa Venkataswamy, Dr. V, popularly known as Dr. V. It's an amazing story. I will briefly tell you for want of time. He was born in a remote village in South India near Madurai. He was born in a very ordinary, very poor family. He lost his mother during childbirth. The foster mother or the aunt who took care of him, he lost her also at the age of 6. He lost one more person in the family, close person. And all 3 deaths have happened because of lack of medical practitioner available in nearby place. So this boy grew up in such a situation where he lost everybody for the reason that there are no doctors available in that village. So that day he decided he wanted to become a doctor. And he went on. He pursued this. He walked kilometers to the government school, and he got into the medical college. And the destiny is very tricky. He got into MBBS college, but on the 4th year, because he wanted to be a surgeon, he wanted to be a gynec surgeon. That's what was his ambition. He got a rare disease, a kind of a rheumatoid arthritis where his fingers are being crippled. You know, for a surgeon, finger is the most important thing, like a pianist. And what happened is somebody told him that, okay, you can do you can become an ophthalmic surgeon because that doesn't need that kind of dexterity. So he became an ophthalmic surgeon, and then he went on to establish Aravind Eye Hospital. Aravind Eye Hospital, because his vision was to remove blindness from India, from the world, curable illness, blindness. For want of money or for want of some other reason, if people are having blind, so he wanted to, so he started Aravind Eye Hospital after retiring from the government service at the age of 58 with no business background. At the age of 58, Dr. V started. And it is an amazing, amazing story. The only case study in Harvard, which is compulsory, mandatory for every session, every season. The customer can choose the price point. In Aravind Eye Hospital, if you go, you can choose the price point. 0 is a price point. If you cannot pay, you don't have to pay. You can choose the price point. And he went on to do, so how do we manage this? If a customer is not paying and majority of the customers are not paying, so he cross-subsidizing, so he went on to do the efficiency building mechanism. So McDonaldization of eye care. So McDonald's is very big because of standardization, standard efficiency. So he did that. He recruited, and also the low-cost resources available in the villages. Every year he take about 100 young girls and train them as paramedicals and train them so well that they do most of the jobs a surgeon does. So a surgeon has to come in, generally a surgeon will an eye surgeon will take about 30 or 40 minutes for a normal surgery. In Aravind Eye Hospital, he takes 3.5 minutes because rest of the things are taken care by the paramedicals. So he has done so many things. And so many things. For want of time, I have to close. For want of time, I'm not going to get into this. Believe me, even after all these things. So he goes to the poor patients. He goes with a eye camp into the villages. But the operating margin of Aravind Eye Hospital is the highest in the world. It is no longer a charity, and they are not being funded by any government or any charity. The revenue comes from the patients who pay, because they believe in Dr. V's vision. They believe in Dr. V's purpose. And his purpose is to eliminate curable blindness from the face of the earth. Next. So the narrative for the purpose, there are 3 important words: people, planet, and profit. You need to put people above profit. You need to put planet above profit. For now onwards, the business has to be successful. And the community, purpose benefit all stakeholders equally. The community, customers, employees, and the company. The community benefits through positive societal impact. The customers benefit through a shared purpose. The employees find a higher value for their work. The company earns sustainable profits and growth. So these all are stories and examples, Indian example, foreign examples. But there are many research studies have shown, empirical research have clearly proven that purpose-driven companies are performing much, much better, almost 400% better than other companies. Even in Indian context, I'm not going to go through the details. The point is, it is not a poster or a kind of a motivational thing. It's a reality. It's supported by empirical data that research proves that purpose-driven brands and companies performs financially better than other companies. I will conclude with a small video of Harish Manwani. He will explain.
The entire model of capitalism and the economic model that you and I did business in, and in fact continue to business in, was built around what probably Milton Friedman put more succinctly. And Adam Smith, of course, the father of modern economics, actually said many, many years ago, the invisible hand, which is if you continue to operate in your own self-interest, you will do the best good for society. Now, capitalism has done a lot of good things. And I talked about a lot of good things that have happened. But equally, it has not been able to meet up with some of the challenges that we've seen in society. The model that at least I was brought up in, and a lot of us doing business were brought up in, was one which talked about what I call the 3 Gs of growth. Growth that is consistent, quarter on quarter, growth that is competitive, better than the other person, and growth that is profitable. So you continue to make more and more shareholder value. And I'm afraid this is not going to be good enough. And we have to move from this 3G model to a model of what I call the 4th G, the G of growth that is responsible. And it is this that has to become a very important part of creating value, of not just creating economic value, but creating social value. And companies that will thrive are those that will actually embrace the 4th G. And the model of 4th G is quite simple. Companies cannot afford to be just innocent bystanders in what's happening around in society. They have to begin to play their role in terms of serving the communities which actually sustain them. And we have to move to a model of an and model, which is how do we make money and do good? How do we make sure that we have a great business, but we also have a great environment around us? And that model is all about doing well and doing good. Now the question is, easy said than done, but how do we actually get that done? And I do believe that the answer to that is going to be leadership. It is going to be to redefine the new business models, which understand that the only license to operate is to combine these things. And for that, you need businesses that can actually define their role in society in terms of a much larger purpose than the products and brands that they sell. And companies that actually define a true north, things that are non-negotiable, whether times are good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. There are things that you stand for. Values and purpose are going to be the two drivers of software that is going to create the companies of tomorrow.
Friends, I close with my humble submission. Business and humanity has to coexist and to mutually profit. We have to start putting people and society and the planet above profit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dileep. Please, we would like to request you to stay back on stage. Well, of course, needless to say that the very purpose of Madhyamam being here is to have that trust, to have this sense of purpose in doing rather than just actions. Well, we would like to now call upon Mr. Salim Ambalam, the Operations Director of Gulf Madhyamam and Media One, to please come forward on stage. Presenting our token of appreciation, sir, for coming on this platform and sharing your expertise, Mr. Dileep Narayanan, the founder and brand mentor of Organic BPS.